in the middle of the most frozen, desolate landscape on our planet, where temperatures drop so low they can shatter steel and the wind howls with the force of a freight train, something impossible is happening. For millions of years, the massive ice shelves of Antarctica have acted as a gargantuan lid, sealing off vast portions of the Southern Ocean from the rest of the world. These are places of total darkness, crushing pressure, and temperatures that should, by all laws of biology, make life a complete impossibility. But recently, as the Earth warms and these ancient ice shelves begin to fracture and crack open, scientists have caught a glimpse of what lies beneath. In 2021, a team of researchers drilling through nearly a kilometer of solid ice in the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf dropped a camera into a borehole, expecting to find nothing but barren rock and freezing mud. Instead, the footage that came back was something that completely broke the brains of the scientific community. They found complex, stationary life forms clinging to a boulder in a place where there is zero sunlight and no obvious source of food for hundreds of miles. This wasn't just a lucky find. It was a discovery that has fundamentally challenged our definition of where life can exist, and it's sending shockwaves through the search for extraterrestrial life on moons like Europa and Enceladus. To understand why this is such a mind-blowing discovery, you have to realize just how hostile this environment actually is. We are talking about the sub-ice shelf zone. It is the least explored habitat on Earth. Imagine a cavern of water hundreds of meters deep, pinned between the bottom of a floating ice shelf and the seafloor. There is no photosynthesis because no light can penetrate through 900 meters of ice. That means there are no plants, no algae, and no traditional base for a food chain. In every other part of the ocean, life depends on marine snow, the organic debris that falls from the sunlit surface. But the spot where these scientists found life was over 260 kilometers away from the nearest open water. By the time any organic matter could drift that far under the ice, it should have been long gone. Scientists assumed this was a biological no-man's land. They expected a desert, but they found an oasis. The stars of this discovery are strange, sponge-like organisms and stalked creatures that look like something out of a prehistoric fever dream. They were found firmly attached to a single rock on the seafloor. This is the first time stationary, filter-feeding life has been found this deep under an ice shelf. Up until now, we've only seen mobile creatures like fish, jellyfish, or krill wandering under the ice. Finding something that stays in one place means that there must be a consistent, reliable stream of food flowing past that rock. But where is it coming from? The researchers calculated that the nearest food source was likely hundreds, if not thousands, of kilometers away, drifting on deep ocean currents that take months or even years to reach this specific boulder. This suggests that these organisms are masters of extreme efficiency, capable of surviving on the molecular equivalent of scraps in a place where every other living thing would starve. But the result nobody saw coming went beyond just the fact that they were alive. When the scientists analyzed the footage, they realized that the biodiversity on this single rock was higher than many places in the open ocean. There were at least 3 different types of sponges, and several other unidentified stalked organisms. This wasn't a desperate outlier. It was a thriving community. It implies that the area under the Antarctic ice shelves might not be an empty void, but a massive hidden network of specialized ecosystems that we have been completely oblivious to for the entire history of human science. We are talking about an area of the seafloor the size of a small continent that might be covered in life we don't recognize. The technology required to make this discovery was a feat of engineering in itself. You can't just drill a hole in the ice with a handheld tool. The team used a hot water drill, which uses high-pressure jets of near-boiling water to melt a narrow shaft through nearly 1,000 meters of ice. It's a race against time because as soon as you stop drilling, the hole begins to freeze shut again. Once they reached the ocean beneath, they lowered a camera tethered by a long cable. The moment the camera hit the bottom and panned across to that rock, the silence in the control tent was absolute. No one expected to see anything but gray silt. Seeing a sponge in the middle of a dark abyss was like finding a flowering garden at the bottom of a coal mine. This discovery has immediately shifted the focus of astrobiology. For a long time, groups like NASA have looked at the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, like Europa, as the best places to find life beyond Earth. Europa is covered in an ice shell miles thick with a global ocean underneath. Skeptics always argued that without sunlight, the oceans of Europa would be sterile. But the Antarctic discovery proves that life doesn't need a sun. It doesn't even need to be near the surface. If life can thrive under a kilometer of ice in the Southern Ocean, there is no reason it couldn't be thriving under the ice of a moon millions of miles away. Antarctica has become our window to the stars. But how do these creatures survive? Scientists are now investigating the possibility of chemosynthesis in the sub-ice environment. In the deep ocean, near volcanic vents, bacteria can turn chemicals like sulfur and methane into energy. While there are no known volcanic vents under the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf, there may be cold seeps, places where gases leak out of the seafloor. If these sponges are feeding on bacteria that live off these gases, it would mean we have a completely independent, chemical-based ecosystem hidden under the ice. This would be a second genesis of sorts, evidence of life that has evolved to flourish entirely without the influence of the sun. The haunting part of this discovery is that as the ice shelves crack and collapse due to the warming climate, we are finally seeing these ecosystems just as they are under threat of disappearing. The very event that allows us to find them, the cracking of the ice, is the same event that might disrupt their delicate world. When an ice shelf calves or breaks away, the sudden influx of light and different water temperatures could overwrite these ancient communities before we even have a chance to name the species living there. We are in a sprinting match against time to document a hidden world before it changes forever. One of the most mind-bending aspects of the Antarctic life is its metabolic tempo. In such cold temperatures, everything happens in slow motion. Scientists believe these sponges might be hundreds of years old, perhaps even thousands. When you live in a world where food arrives once every few months, you learn to wait. Their heartbeats, if you can call them that, and their cellular processes are likely tuned to a frequency so slow that a human observer would think they were looking at a statue. They are the time travelers of the ocean, existing in a frozen stasis that defies our fast-paced understanding of biology. The discovery also highlights the importance of oceanic convection. The currents that bring food under the ice are part of the global conveyor belt, a massive system of water movement that regulates the Earth's climate. The fact that these organisms are healthy tells us that the deep-sea currents are still functioning, carrying life-sustaining nutrients into the furthest reaches of the planet. These sponges act as biological sensors, giving us a readout on the health of the deep ocean. If they were to start failing, it would be an early warning sign that the global oceanic circulation is in trouble. Researchers are now developing sub-ice drones, small, autonomous robots that can be deployed through boreholes and cruise for miles under the ice. We want to know if that boulder was just a fluke or if the entire undersurface of the ice shelf is covered in life. Imagine an upside-down forest, where organisms cling to the bottom of the ice itself, feeding on the mineral-rich water. The possibilities are endless. We are essentially beginning the exploration of a new continent that is hidden under the white blanket of the South. This discovery has also reignited the debate about protected zones in Antarctica. Currently, most protection is focused on the coastlines where the penguins and seals live. But now we know that the interior of the ice shelves is just as important. We have to reconsider how we manage the Southern Ocean to ensure we don't accidentally pollute these pristine, million-year-old habitats. One drop of oil or a stray piece of plastic through a borehole could introduce bacteria that these ancient sponges have no defense against. The genetic side of the research is equally fascinating. Scientists are hoping to sequence the DNA of these sub-ice organisms to see how they differ from their sun-loving cousins. They likely have antifreeze proteins in their cells and highly specialized enzymes that allow them to process food at near-freezing temperatures. This genetic hardware could be incredibly valuable for humans, leading to breakthroughs in medicine, food preservation, and even industrial chemistry. These organisms aren't just a curiosity. They are a locker of secrets that could help us solve some of our biggest technical challenges. One of the most recent and result nobody saw coming moments occurred when a second team of researchers found microbial mats growing in the sediment under another ice shelf. These mats are huge colonies of bacteria that create a sort of living carpet on the seafloor. They found that these mats were actually producing small amounts of heat through their metabolic activity. It's a slow burn that slightly warms the water around them. This means that life under the ice isn't just reacting to its environment, it is actually heating its own home. On a global scale, this biological heat is tiny, but in the micro-world under the ice, it's the difference between life and stasis. The study of the Antarctic underworld has also revealed a strange connection to the history of our planet. Some of the species found under the ice appear to be relict populations, animals that were common in the world's oceans millions of years ago but were thought to be extinct everywhere else. The ice shelf has acted as a natural museum, protecting these ancient lineages from the competition and changes of the open ocean. Finding them is like finding a living dinosaur in a hidden valley. It gives us a direct link to the evolutionary past of the Earth. The 2030s will be the era of deep ice exploration. Several nations are planning permanent borehole stations where sensors will monitor the sub-ice ocean 24 hours a day. We will be able to listen to the movement of the ice and the flow of the water. We might even hear the sounds of larger creatures that we haven't seen yet. If there are sponges and stalks, there are likely things that eat them. We are waiting for the moment a shadow passes in front of the camera that we can't explain. The psychological impact of this discovery on the scientific community has been profound. It has moved us away from a centric view of life, the idea that life belongs to the sun and the air. We are realizing that we are the outliers, living in a thin, bright layer on the surface of a planet that is mostly dark and cold. The true inhabitants of Earth might be the trillions of organisms living deep in the crust and under the ice. We are just the tenants on the roof. Why does it matter if there are sponges under a kilometer of ice? Because it tells us that life is tenacious. It tells us that the universe is likely much more crowded than we think. If life can find a way in the pitch-black, freezing depths of Antarctica, it is likely huddled in the cracks of Mars, in the oceans of Europa, and in the clouds of Venus. The Antarctic discovery has normalized the idea of extreme life. It has turned impossible into expected. The cracking of the ice shelves, while a signal of environmental change, has provided us with a unique laboratory of opportunity. We are seeing the transition zones where the deep world meets the open world. It's a natural experiment on a global scale. How will these ancient sponges react to the arrival of light? Will they adapt, or will they be outcompeted by the faster sun-fueled life from the north? Watching this play out will give us incredible insights into ecological transition and how ecosystems respond to rapid change. The research also has implications for climate modeling. By understanding how much life is under the ice, we can better calculate the carbon cycle of the Southern Ocean. These organisms are carbon sinks, locking away organic matter for centuries. If the ice shelves collapse, all that carbon could be released back into the system. Knowing the biological load of the sub-ice world is a critical piece of the puzzle for predicting our planet's future temperature. One of the hauntingly beautiful discoveries from the recent expeditions was the internal glow of some of the sub-ice water. While there is no sunlight, there are certain types of minerals and tectonic stresses that can create triboluminescence, tiny flashes of light caused by the movement of the ice or the grinding of rocks. It's possible that the dark world under the ice isn't actually black, but filled with ghostly sparkles. These sponges might have eyes that are sensitive to these tiny flashes, navigating a world of starlight beneath the ice. The Antarctic discovery is a story of patience and persistence. It took decades of drilling and millions of dollars to get a few minutes of grainy video footage. But that footage has changed everything. It's a reminder that the most important discoveries are often the ones that are the hardest to get to. We have to be willing to melt through a kilometer of ice to find the truth. We have to be willing to look where everyone else says there is nothing to find. Looking toward 2035, the Antarctic Under Ice Mapping Project aims to create the first digital twin of the entire sub-ice shelf environment. Using a combination of satellite radar, borehole cameras, and autonomous drones, we will be able to fly through the hidden ocean in virtual reality. We will see the mountains, the valleys, and the fields of sponges without ever leaving our desks. This will be the final frontier of earthly mapping, completing our picture of the planet. The result nobody saw coming is ultimately that the Earth is full. There is no such thing as an empty space. Every crack, every drop of water, and every freezing rock is a potential home. The discovery under the ice is a celebration of the unstoppable drive of biology. It tells us that life is not a fragile accident, but a powerful, pervasive force that fills every available niche. The sponges of the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf are the ambassadors of this force. As the sun sets over the Antarctic plateau and the researchers pull their drills back to the surface, the hole in the ice begins to freeze shut, sealing the secret world back into its dark sanctuary. But we know it's there now. We have the photos, we have the data, and we have the memory of the sponges. The ice might be white and silent on top, but underneath, the party of life is still going on, as it has for millions of years. The discovery has also fostered a new international cooperation. Because these ice shelves span across the territorial claims of many countries, scientists from around the world are having to share data and resources like never before. The sub-ice ocean is becoming a global commons, a place where science transcends politics. We are working together to understand a part of our world that doesn't belong to any one nation, but to the history of life itself. One of the final haunting thoughts from the lead researcher on the project was the scale of the unknown. If we found this much on one single rock, under one single borehole, what else is out there? We have only sampled about 0.0001% of the sub-ice seafloor. It's like looking at one grain of sand on a beach and trying to describe the entire ocean. The true discovery is the realization of how much we still don't know. The mystery hasn't been solved. It has only been expanded. So, the next time you look at a map of Antarctica and see those vast, flat areas of white ice, don't think of them as empty. Think of the tube sponges, the stalked feeders, and the glowing microbial mats. Think of the ancient, slow-motion world that is thriving in the dark. The ice shelf cracked, and for a brief moment, we saw the face of a hidden Earth. It is a face that is strange, beautiful, and absolutely undeniably alive. The research continues. The hot water drills are being prepared for next season, and the drones are being tested in the cold waters of the north. We are going back. We are going deeper. And we are going to find out just how far the empire of the dark extends. The sponges are waiting, the stalks are feeding, and the discovery under the ice is just the iceberg tip of what's to come. Trust in the science, stay curious, and never forget that the greatest secrets are often hidden under the coldest places. The result nobody saw coming has turned a cold, white desert into a vibrant frontier. Antarctica is no longer just the land of the penguins. It is the land of the sub-ice abyss. It is a place where impossible is just a temporary state of mind. And as we continue to crack open the secrets of the South, we are learning more about our place in the universe, one rock at a time. Life is there. It is slow, it is dark, and it is magnificent. The 2035 vision for Antarctic research is one of deep connectivity. We will understand the link between the glacial flow on top and the biological flow underneath. We will see how they influence each other in a giant, frozen dance. The ice shelf is not just a lid, it's a membrane that connects two different worlds. And now that we've poked a hole in it, we can never look at it the same way again. The secrets of the South are coming into the light, and they are more spectacular than we ever dared to imagine. In the end, we've learned that Antarctica is not a barrier, it's a guardian. It has been guarding a biological treasure chest for eons. Now as the chest begins to open, we are the ones who get to see the jewels inside. The alive underneath discovery is our reward for our curiosity and our courage to look into the dark. Stay tuned, because the next crack in the ice might reveal something even more shocking. The adventure is just beginning, and the ghosts of the South are finally ready to tell their story. The Filchner Roan sponges are more than just animals, they are symbols of survival. They remind us that no matter how dark or cold the world gets, there is always a way to cling to a rock and keep feeding. They are the stoics of the sea. And as we move forward into a changing world, we could all learn a little something from their infinite patience. The ice is moving, the water is flowing, and life, as always, is finding a way. The discovery is in, and it's a game changer for every science we know. Antarctica has spoken, and its word is life.